Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, the show that takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible.
Hello and welcome to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Today I'm super excited to talk to you about this subject. It has been something that I'm really trying to kind of implement into my life, and that is establishing healthy habits and sticking to them. Mainly, fighting through your instincts and changing your pattern, which can be so difficult. But, we all need to establish healthy habits in our life to get us to where we want to go, to be healthy, just in general, but to go after our goals, our careers, relationship goals, friendships, it doesn't matter, be in that right mindset. It's so important to establish those healthy habits because once you create a habit, a healthy habit, your life, you can kind of form your life around these healthy habits, and it can just help you strive so much further and really reach all the things that you want to. And habits are very difficult at the beginning, but once you get going, it should pretty much take absolutely no brain power, and that's the best part. The hardest part is establishing that healthy habit into your life, but then once it's a habit, it's a habit, you fought through your instincts, and you changed your pattern, and now it's just a part of your life. It's a part of who you are. And so that's why I think it's really important to pick, the right habits for you and what you actually want in your life. And I think it's so important to make sure that you're doing the right thing for you. And everybody is kind of different. I think there's some healthy habits that we can all definitely implement into our life. But then there's some individually that I think that we should focus on. And so it's important to kind of see that and kind of really know what's going to work best for you and why you want those habits in your life for certain things. A lot of people look at habits as just something that you kind of do every day. Oh, that's just something that I do. But I don't think that's the case. It's whenever you find yourself in a specific situation, you find yourself automatically doing specific actions, right? Okay, so an action you do frequently and automatically in response to your environment. That's your habit. When you go home, here's a good example. When you wake up in the morning, what do? Well, you brush your teeth, right? You wake up in the morning, maybe you have a cup of coffee or whatever you do in the morning, but it's just routine to brush your teeth before you go to school, before you go to work, before you go on with your day, before you leave your house, right? You brush your teeth, or, what's a habit you do, when you go to bed? You turn off all the lights. Maybe you're someone that puts on some candles or, some aromatherapy, essential oils or something like that. I don't know. Some people have all these different habits, right? But we create these habits, and they just become part of our life. And that's why I think it's just so important to be creating healthy habits and not habits that are going to be sabotaging you in some type of way, or that going to, veer you off track of your goals and what you really want. So, we can have good habits and we can have bad habits, as we all know. But today I'm going to be talking to you about the good ones, because that's what I think is most important, obviously, to implement into our lives. We can have good habits and we can have bad habits, as we all know. But today I'm going to be talking to you just about the good habits. According to studies, it takes about 21 days to form a habit. I've heard so many different numbers. Just recently, I was talking to somebody about habits, and they said it took 67 days. And so it's hard. There's studies that say it takes 21 days. I've heard 2 weeks. I've heard 3 weeks. I've heard 67 days now. Like, I've heard so many different numbers. And kind of what I've collected and what I believe is that it just depends on the person. It depends on the habit as well. How much different it is from, like, your regular routine or from what you're used to in your life, right? So forming that habit can take anywhere from a day to maybe even a year to really form that specific habit. And so you got to let yourself not kind of be pushed down too much from it, because it's hard to form a habit, and especially hard to form a healthy habit that you haven't been able to do in a long time, or that you've fallen off track, or that's just like completely different to your daily routine. So I'm going to talk to you about, some healthy habits to implement into your lifestyle that are going to benefit you for a happier life. Some things that I'm trying to implement into my life that I want to share with you. And then some just tips to creating these sustainable habits. And that is the main word in this entire episode, sustainable habits. We do not want to be trying to create these healthy habits that are just so far off that we're never going to just hold on to it, or maybe we have too much on our plate. Like, you got to know how to break it down and create the habits that are sustainable, that aren't crazy. I've heard of all these, like, crazy, like, diet things and all these things, and I guess it's a diet, it's not necessarily a habit, but sometimes people try to incorporate that as a habit, and it's just so far-fetched from, your normal life, or from what's just literally, what's normal, and you fall off track, and then you kind of get feeling low on yourself because you can't keep up with it. And so we gotta focus on sustainable habits. And I think there's kind of 4 steps that we can kind of break this down into, which is your cue, your craving, your response, and your reward, especially when you're initiating these healthy habits first into your life. So the cue is your trigger. Your craving can be different for everybody. Your response is the actual habit, and then your reward, which is also kind of different for everybody. So your craving could be different. It's depending on your trigger that could arise your craving, right? So basically the cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving, and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. So it kind of all comes full circle. And so that's kind of why I wanted to break it down that way. Maybe some of you will kind of understand it a little bit better. So together with these 4 steps, your neurological, it's like a neurological feedback loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Cue, craving, response, reward. Cue, craving, response, reward. And that ultimately allows you to create these automatic habits. I think this is kind of like the easiest way to break it down. So you need a trigger and a reward. So pick something on your day-to-day basis, like eating lunch. So maybe when you eat lunch, you know that you need to take your vitamins. It's something that you do every single day. You eat your lunch. And so now you're kind of associating that with a habit that you want to implement into your life. For me, that is one. I want to be able to take my vitamins every single day. And so you have to kind of associate it with something that you already do, like eating lunch, or maybe brushing your teeth, or, making your coffee, whatever you do on your regular day, and then associate your habit with that thing you do. This kind of makes it easier. I think, because you kind of pair it, right? And so, for example, if you're like, okay, I need to take these supplement vitamins every single day. So every single day you eat your lunch, and then you are about to eat your lunch. Okay, let's say it this way. You're about to eat your lunch, and you remember, okay, I need to take my vitamins. So you take all your vitamins, and then guess what? Your reward is your lunch. You can associate it that way. Of course, it's just like a simple example, but there's so many different things that you can kind of pair your habit with an everyday thing that you already do, and that kind of just makes it easier. Your brain is now associating that everyday task to this habit, and it just kind of comes, I just think it makes it more obvious. It makes it, it just makes it easier. So by associating your habit with something you do every day, like for me, a habit that I really want to implement into my life is stretching more. I used to be on a really good kick of always waking up and stretching, and I've kind of fallen off that track. So for me, I want to be able to, I usually go to the gym in the morning, so now I'm forcing myself, to get up and go to the gym and get up 20 minutes earlier, so then I have that 20 minutes after I work out to actually stretch, because I always kind of rush it. I'm like, I don't have enough time, I have to get ready, I have to move on with my day. But now I'm like, okay, I gotta wake up 20 minutes earlier so I can go to the gym 20 minutes earlier, so I have time for that stretch because it's important to me. on the days I don't go to the gym, I have to implement my stretching with something else. I have to associate it with something else. So if I associate my stretching, on the weekend, sometimes I don't go first thing in the morning, right? So if I kind of wake up and I have my morning coffee, then I'll stretch while I'm drinking my morning coffee and maybe, check my social media feeds or whatever it is. So you got to try to associate with different things. I just think it makes it so much easier, and you kind of will start to just like automatically form these habits in just an easier context. Another one is kind of like, so your rewards can be, big or small, and I think it depends on the person. It depends on your habit, depends on what you're trying to implement into your life. And it, even like the beginning or the end of a habit, like when you're first starting to form a habit, you might need a bigger reward to kind of keep you motivated. But then when your habit actually starts, become a little bit more natural, you maybe have to think about it a little bit, remind yourself a little bit to do it. It's not fully a habit yet, then maybe your reward can be a little bit different. I was kind of doing some research on, creating these healthy habits, and one that I was reading was about fitness, and a calendar. So basically, you have a calendar, on your wall or whatever, and every single time you work out, you give yourself a check mark on the day that you work out. For some people, this is enough because you get to see that satisfaction on that calendar, and it's a whole month that you get to look at. I was thinking of doing this in my day planner, but I'm like, it's not as like satisfying. If you have like a calendar on your wall and you get to see all these like little check marks, like I think that's super cool. And so like that makes me also want to do like another symbol for like how many like liters of water I drink that day. Like if I drink 3 liters of water, maybe I'll give myself a star. Like if I drink more than that, I'll give myself a different shape or something like that. And then you get to like kind of look past at your month and see like, wow, like this is what I did. And like for me, that can be satisfying enough. For others, you might need to give yourself a little bit of a bigger reward. And so it kind of just depends on who you are and what kind of habit that you want to implement into your life. So take a step back, really think about it. So then you can kind of think, okay, what can I associate this habit with a daily task in my life? And what can I reward myself with? And like I said, when you first start to implement these habits into your life, you might have, really big rewards. Like, okay, if I go to the gym every single day this week, like, or maybe you go to the gym and then you like allow yourself like a cookie or like something like that. And then eventually you won't have a full cookie, maybe, okay, I'll allow myself this or that or whatever it is. So you kind of can work yourself down. But I think by giving yourself that reward, like we naturally want these rewards. We naturally want a cookie. Like, of course we do. So I think if we can kind of implement that, give ourselves something to look forward to, then we're kind of more motivated to do that habit, to implement it into our lives, so then we can reward ourselves with whatever it is. Okay, so it is time for a little bit of a break. Don't go anywhere. I have so much information to share with you on implementing healthy habits into your life. So stay tuned. Okay, so whether you are an entrepreneur or just a small business owner, a startup, it doesn't matter what it is. We all know that having the perfect logo design can be crucial to jumpstarting your business in the proper way. That's why I want to talk to you about Design Crowd. This is a website that has over 750,000 designers that you're able to reach out to get their creative minds to work on a logo that's perfect for you and your company. But they create anything from a logo design to WordPress design to banner ad and Facebook page design. It doesn't matter what it is or what you need. You can outsource on Design Crowd and find what works perfect for you. And since you are a Life and Happiness listener, you can receive up to $150 off your first design project. All you got to do is visit DesignCrowd/Life and Happiness or enter the promo code Life and Happiness. Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness podcast. I'm going to jump right back into it because I have so much information to share with you today. I thought that I would kind of share with you different ways to break down some habits of ones that you want to implement into your life, and then I'll share some with you that that I'm trying to implement into my life, so maybe kind of give you some ideas, some perspectives. So I think, the 3 kind of categories to break it down would be fitness, health, and mental wealth. Okay, so I feel like, a lot of us have fitness goals. Everyone's kind of different, but we all kind of try to keep active and healthy, keep our bodies moving so we can stay healthy and live a healthy and happy life. So for fitness, like I mentioned before about the calendar, making a check mark on the day you work out, like that would be like my kind of reward. Some other people might need a cookie or might need something else. You have to know your personality, and I think that's really important. Also with creating these fitness habits, know your personality in the fact of, like, when you're actually going to work out and, like, what works best for you and your schedule. Like, for me, I know that if I don't go in the morning, like, before I start my day, I'm probably not going to go. I lose kind of motivation, or I get caught up in work. I can be, like, a workaholic sometimes, and I get caught up in everything that I have to do, and I'm like, I just don't have time. But if I wake up early enough in the morning and get my workout done, I ended up having, like, such a better day because I can just be so focused. Like, I'm not, kind of anxious or jittery. I get my good workout in, and then I can just spend the rest of the day doing the stuff that I need to tackle. And it just sets me up. But that's not how, like, everybody works. Like, maybe you really like going after work at 5 o'clock, or maybe you like going, after dinner at, like, 7:30 or something like that because you want to escape out the house from your kids or something. I don't know what it is. But it can be different for everybody. So when you're implementing these goals, know your personality, know what works best for you. For me, another one for fitness is just walking. I want to implement, like, just going outside for a walk, especially. I don't live in a place where the weather is always, like, beautiful and sunny. It rains a lot. It can snow. So this can be difficult, but I'm really learning to kind of bundle myself up and just go and do it. Even if it's only, like, a 15-minute walk, just getting that fresh air, like, I'm really trying to implement that to me. So sometimes, especially if I'm not able to work out that day, I make sure I go for a 30-minute walk just to get my blood moving, get my body going, kind of let out anything, right? Or when I just need a break from my work, I'm like, okay, I just need to go for a walk. And it kind of just wakes you up, brightens your mood, and gets your day going, or kind of finishes your day off nicely. So even if you're not in the habit of getting into the gym, especially sometimes we have an excuse like, I'm injured, I'm not feeling well, right? Get into the habit. So if you want to implement, working out, going to the gym as a habit, but you're injured right now, you haven't been feeling well, it's just not the time and place, try to implement, like, something smaller, like waking up every morning and stretching. So then you're kind of implementing a routine, like a morning routine of, like, a little bit of movement for your body, even though you can't quite get to the gym yet. This could also just be a baby step to kind of where you want to go with it. So baby steps are good. If you can't, you can't really jump into the gym yet, try just stretching in the morning, or try going for a 15-minute walk outside. And I think just by doing that, you're kind of getting yourself into the routine of, I got to wake up, I got to do this. And then eventually you'll be like, okay, I got to wake up and I got to go to the gym, and it'll become natural. Now let's jump into the health category. Water for me is a big one. And how I implement, or how I'm trying to implement this into my life, is drinking out of a 1-liter bottle. This for me motivates me. It gets me excited when I finish a 1-liter bottle. I'm like, yes, I finished 1 liter. It kind of motivates me to, like, keep going. If I don't have that 1-liter bottle, I have a hard time keeping track of all these, like, little bottles and how much water I'm actually drinking. And I just forget to drink it in general. But if I have this giant liter bottle sitting in front of me, I'm more likely to actually drink that water. And, like, so I think having a water bottle, kind of just keeps you on track. It keeps you motivated. So that's my tip for that one. Another one that I've been doing a lot of research kind of about is every single night, like, you're dehydrating your body all night. Your body is dehydrated. So you wake up and that's, like, the best time to really hydrate yourself. And in the morning, it's better to hydrate yourself with warm water. Instead of chugging, like, a giant glass of cold water, it's better to have, like, a warm water with lemon or something like that. And so implementing that into your life can be a great health benefit. You're hydrating yourself first thing in the morning, especially if you're going for a workout or something like that. You want to make sure your body and everything is healthy and hydrated before you start your day. Some people really want to implement intermediate fasting, whether this be for long periods of time or short periods of time. And with intermediate fasting, you have those few hours that you eat, and then the rest you're fasting. And For me, I'm a huge eater in the morning because I think I work out, so I like to eat after. I get hungry, but some people can wake up and they're just not hungry in the morning. And so it depends on your personality and what you want to implement into your life. But this is definitely a highly suggested kind of health one that I was reading about when I was doing research for this episode. Everyone's like, I want to implement intermediate fasting. And for this tip as well, I think you just need to do baby steps. And if, maybe start with, not as long of fasting hours and kind of work your way towards it. I think baby steps are so key to implementing these habits. And then my next one is green juice. So I am a huge coffee drinker. And I always, about 3 o'clock when I'm having my 3 p.m. crash, I grab a coffee. Or I binge on snacks or something because you're kind of like in between that hungry stage. You're kind of tired, right? And so for me, I grab another coffee. And I really want to get out of that habit and instead have green juice because it'll still pick me up. It'll give me that energy boost, but I'm not having that like late afternoon caffeine that I really don't need because I've probably had a couple cups of coffee at least that day already. And so switching to kind of green juice. And for me, my biggest tip, even just like for myself, is just having it with me. If I have something with me and I have it in front of me, if I have green juice sitting there, I will drink that. But a lot of the time I haven't had that. And so I need to make sure that I get into the habit of not only drinking the green juice during my 3 p.m. crash, but bringing it with me on a day-to-day basis so I have it in front of me and then I'll drink it. And then like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, vitamins. And pairing that with something that you do every single day, like eating lunch, or maybe after you brush your teeth, you want to take your vitamins, or you have it, after your breakfast, or whatever it is. But if you kind of compare that with something that you do every single day, it's way easier to keep track of that. And now finally, the last category that I kind of have for you is mental wealth. This can be different for everybody. Some people, every single Friday night, you maybe need to implement the habit of having a drink with your husband or your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or a friend. That's just kind of, it's a good way for you to just unwind from your week. Maybe that's something that you need to do. It can also help you spend time with a loved one, right? Or maybe it could just be self-reflection that you want to implement into your life. This is something personally that I need to do, that I'm trying to do, twice a week. Wednesdays and Sundays, that's kind of what I pick to do my self-reflection. I try to do it at night before I go to bed, just see how I'm feeling, in the middle of the week, and then right before kind of the end of the week and before I'm starting my Monday, right? So I kind of do that reflection and get what I need out. And so once again, you got to associate with an everyday task. For me, it's like I crawl into bed and I have my notebook on my nightstand and it's like, okay, let me just write a little bit of self-reflection so I feel better. Another one that a lot of people are kind of implementing is like meditation, because you're doing it to build your brain muscle. Like, it's like fitness and health is so important, but you also need to, it's mental wealth, right? You got to build that brain muscle. Nighttime tea is another one. For me too, this is a habit I'm really trying to implement, is putting my phone away at a certain time, especially at night. I find that like if I'm not sleeping well, it's probably because I was on my phone too late. I'm scrolling through something or whatever it is. So instead, I have an alarm go off at my phone at 8:30 p.m. Basically tells me, Alyssa, get off of your phone. So I do, and what's made it easiest for me is actually signing out of my social media platforms. I sign out of everything because then I don't catch myself. Then if I do catch myself opening it up, I'm like, oh, I'm logged out. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be on this right now. And so that's kind of made it easier for me, is just logging out of all my apps and putting my phone on do not disturb so it doesn't bother me. So at 8:30, my alarm goes off, and then that's also my reminder that I need to read. And that's another mental wealth habit that I'm trying to kind of put into my life, is reading more. So at 8:30, I have an alarm that goes off. I put my phone away. First of all, I sign out of all my apps to make sure I put my phone away. I put my phone down, set my alarm, whatever I need to do, and then I pick up my book and I try to read for a little while. And I just find that I've been getting a lot better sleeps because of that. So breaking it down into these categories of what kind of habits you want to work on, can just kind of make it easier for you. Maybe these 3 categories don't work for you. Maybe, you want to break it up into like career, relationships, or something else, and mental wealth or something like that. These are just like 3 categories that I'm trying to focus on right now other than my career and stuff. So I thought I would share those with you. But breaking it down into categories, I think kind of just like eases our mind a little bit. It doesn't make it as like overwhelming. You have like certain kind of just places that you want to create these healthy habits into your life. So that's my tip on that. Because creating that routine for like main categories in your life is so crucial to having the life you want, being happy, right? So by doing that, creating those categories and breaking down each habit, I just think it seems a little bit less overwhelming. Now, it is time for another break, but don't go anywhere. I do have some information on, tips on how to implement daily habits, weekly habits, bi-weekly, like a ritual thing, and it kind of just breaks down, now that you have your categories and your habits, now let's break down how you kind of tackle those habits on a day-to-day basis, the ones that are weekly, the ones that are bi-weekly, whatever it is. I have some tips for you so you can tackle these habits and create your healthy lifestyle. So stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast. Okay, we're going to jump right in again. So, daily habits. These are going to have to be pretty simple, because if you overwhelm your day with a bunch of these huge habits that you have to do every single day, like, that is just ridiculous. You can't do it. You're going to overwhelm yourself. It's not going to work out. You can't overload your day with these. And so, like I've been saying this entire episode, is pair these daily habits with something that you do every single day. Wake up, take your vitamins, or have lunch, take your vitamins. Wake up and stretch. Morning coffee and stretch. Whatever it is that you do every single day, pair these things. Drinking water, having that bottle around you, having your green juice prepared and ready so it's in front of you. Pair it with something you do every day. Waking up, going to bed, eating dinner, eating lunch. And what I have to say about daily habits is, like, my main advice for these is just pick one at a time and conquer it. If you want to really focus on drinking X amount of liters of water a day, focus on that for the next 2 weeks until you are really down pat with having that in your life as a habit. And then when you conquer that, then move on to the next one. Okay, now green juice. Okay, now my vitamins. And if you conquer one at a time, it's so much less overwhelming, especially for these daily habits, because this is something you're literally doing on the daily, right? So break it down, conquer one at a time, don't overwhelm yourself. Now, the next one is your ritual habits. And this is kind of, I suggest picking a day. When I mentioned my self-reflection, I said every Wednesday and Sunday, okay? Or if you want to go for a drink, every single Friday you go see your dad for dinner, or you go for a drink with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband. You pick a day, and that's your day to do it. Monday, I need to wake up and meal prep, or maybe Sundays are your meal prep days. And now don't overwhelm yourself if, like, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Oh, I couldn't go for dinner on Friday. Okay, that's okay. Like, you don't have to do it every single week. You just got to know, okay, now next week, Friday again, it's planned. Maybe you kind of have to move things around. But in your head, if you have days like for me, Wednesday and Sunday are my self-reflection days at night. Those are 2 days in my head that I know I need to do that. But if something comes up on a Wednesday night and I'm not home, or I'm not home at a good time, or maybe I fall asleep, or I have something else to do, that's okay. Can't panic. I can move it to Thursday and kind of push it a day or something like that, right? So don't overwhelm yourself. But I think the easiest thing to do with these kind of ritual habits is just pick a day, and that's your day. But don't let yourself, you know, get worked up if you miss that day. It's okay. You know, you just kind of got to reevaluate. Okay, I can do it on this day instead this week. And that's fine. And then the following week, you just get right back to your original days. Every single day has a purpose, you know, when you do it. You know, Sunday's your prep day. Monday's tackling your hard tasks. Maybe like Mondays and Tuesday, you like to tackle all the things that are more difficult. So then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have an easier end of the week. Or maybe you like to do it opposite. I don't know what it is. But if you target each day with a purpose, things become less overwhelming, and then you can kind of implement these habits easier for you in your life. So you have to let yourself know, you know, if things fall off track, like I said, if you miss a day, you just have to kind of be adaptable to that. You know, if I miss my Wednesday, okay, I'll just move it to Thursday this week. Whatever the case may be adaptable to your own habits. This is you. This is your life. You're keeping yourself on track here. So, you know, sometimes you don't get to do everything that you want to do. But that doesn't mean that you have to throw out the rest of the week or later on. You can just say, okay, some stuff came up today. That's okay. I'm going to do my best, and then I will get back to my regular habits on Monday or whatever the day is. That's the thing. They're habits. When you actually have these as habits, you're going to go back on track. You're going to still go back to your habits. That's why they're habits. Okay? But, you know, in case you do fall off track, I'm going to give you some tips right now on how to get back into your habits if you do fall off track, or just how to kind of start these habits a little bit more. Some more tips for you. So let's say exercising, because I think fitness and exercising is a really common for a lot of people. It's a kind of a typical habit you want to implement into your life. So have a commitment partner. Get somebody who is invested in the same thing. Maybe you have a workout buddy. I've actually seen things where you can, like, online, you can reach out to, like, women and stuff like that. And, like, even if you, like, live across the world, you can just, like, have, like, this woman who, like, messages you, like, on a Monday morning, like, hey, did you get your workout in today? Like, I did. And you can kind of, like, support each other even from, like, different, like, sides of the world, which I think is so cool. Women empowering other women. But, like, you can do this with, like, a workout buddy, someone across the world, or, like, I think the easiest one, too, for this is signing up for a class. For me, I did a lot of spin classes, and I knew that, like, once I signed up for that class, if I canceled or didn't show up, I was going to be charged, and it was expensive. So I knew once I signed up, I was committed. I had to go. And that was so good because it helped me form that habit, because it's like, I don't want to be, like, out $20 for this, like, class that I already pay so much money for. So if you book those classes or you have your workout buddy, then you have that commitment partner to keep you on track, or even just to get started, right? Until you actually form that habit and you're able just to go on by yourself. You know, have your accountability buddy. Like I said, even if it's on the internet, we have to hold ourselves accountable. Often we don't do things for ourselves, and we do it for other people. There are a million things that we have to do during the day, and we can find a million excuses to not do those things. So if you have your accountability partner, you know, your commitment buddy, then, you know, you're going to have more of that motivation and push to keep going, and then you're going to keep up with that habit or start it on a strong note. And I think that's super important. Another tip would be an immediate reward. You might have to have a reward system, like I said at the beginning of this episode, especially to get you going. And this can change from, like, having a cookie after every workout to, you know, just putting a check mark on a calendar. Like, it can definitely change. But for a lot of people, you might need, like, that immediate reward. Like, after you get out of the gym, you're allowed, like, you know, your cookie. Or maybe you're allowed to, like, go, maybe you're not allowed your, like, morning coffee until after your workout. Something like that, right? So if you have an immediate reward after, that can really force you to go, but you have to keep that mindset to, focus. Okay, like I really can't have that cookie, that coffee, whatever, that check mark on my board unless I work out. So you have to discipline yourself. One that I heard that I thought was really, really great, especially with this fitness, it was about this girl, and every time she would work out, she would put $1 in a jar. And then once she got it to like a certain amount, she would go buy herself a pair of like new Lululemon workout pants. It's an immediate reward, and it's a big reward, right? You're immediately like putting $1 in this jar, and then you get to look forward to, buying your new workout pants, which also motivates you to like go back to the gym because now you get new workout pants to work out in, right? So having that reward system can help us push past those lazy times where we just don't want to do it. It keeps us, we're looking forward to something, whether it's small, like a chocolate, or putting $1 in the jar. It keeps you motivated, or putting that check mark, whatever worked best for you. And don't be ashamed if you need a reward. It doesn't have to be forever. You're training your mind, your muscle memory to form that habit. So there's nothing to be ashamed about. If you are in a relationship, you have kids, family, or maybe just your best friend, tell them about this habit that you're trying to form and like why it's important to you. If you're open and honest and why you want to implement that into your life, then they can also help, keep you on track and like make sure you're doing what you want to do. It's important to know also, why you're doing what you're doing. If you know why you want to implement that habit into your life, like I said, breaking it down in those like 3 categories and like why specifically you want that in your life, it actually keeps you more motivated and on track for that. So know your why, know why it's important to you. If it means so much to you, you're gonna keep on track with it and you're gonna work at it. Write it down, have a visual reminder, put it in your phone or a notebook, let your significant other or your best friend remind you why you want to implement that into your life specifically. And be your own reminder, just be focused, be disciplined, implement these habits, and then once you get past, those X amount of days, then it's a habit, and then you don't have to think about it. You just got to put in the hard work. We want these habits because we want our better life. And, the reason behind your habits is because you want to create the happy and healthy life that you love. But, of course, there's more specific habits as well for each person. And, I just think it's so important to write down and talk about it for yourself. Do that self-reflection. Why do I want this habit in my life? What is my reason? Anyway, so all in all, you're going to be doing better at your life, conquering your goals, feeling better about yourself when you have these healthy habits into your life. So just do the hard work at the beginning, and you're going to end up creating the happy and healthy life that you've always wanted. Be the person that you want to be. And if you have to tackle something, tackle it. Go for it. Strive hard. Hold yourself accountable. Have that accountable buddy. Break your stuff down and know your why. Just make sure that you're creating these habits that are sustainable, that aren't too far-fetched, that aren't, out of alignment with your beliefs and your values and what you want. But I think once you break it down into categories and you really kind of know, why you're doing that habit, it's going to be sustainable because you've thought about it. But it's just kind of food for thought. Think about it. Okay, is this habit sustainable? Is it realistic? If the answer is yes, tackle it and go for it. Put the work in. That is all the information that I have for you today, though. I hope this kind of motivated you to make a list of all the healthy habits that you want to implement into your life and why you want to do them. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, like and follow us on social media, and leave a 5-star review. I put up a bunch of inspirational quotes on Twitter and Facebook all the time. I try to interact with you guys as much as I can. So definitely go give us a follow on that. And you can be reminded on a day-to-day basis to keep fighting for your healthy habits. So thank you so much for listening. I had such an amazing time. And I look forward to sharing more information with you on the next episode. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find the show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitchers, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Life and Happiness Podcast.